You are about to listen to the Dr. Daliah Show. Sassy, stimulating medical talk radio. Any medical advice Dr. Daliah Wax gives on her show should not be substituted for an actual visit to your medical provider. And now, here's Dr. Daliah.
All right, welcome back to the Dr. Daliah Show, 1-877-Dr. Daliah, 1-877-DOCDALI, broadcasting from the beautiful Eastern Seaboard this week. We speak about cardiac risk factors and symptoms of that: chest pain, trouble breathing, dizziness, lightheaded, fatigue, feeling faint, nausea, your heart racing, difficulty breathing. And the next sort of cardiac anomaly I want to talk about is obstructive hypertrophic cardiomyopathy, or OHCM. It's a chronic and progressive heart disease that causes changes in the heart muscle, leading to those same symptoms. We are really excited for our next guest. John, a successful former business owner with a lifelong passion for playing competitive sports like tennis and pickleball, had worsening symptoms of this and eventually a diagnosis of OHCM, which forced him to sit on the sidelines. We also have Dr. Payal Kohli to discuss. She's from Harvard-educated, board-certified cardiologist, to discuss the impact of this on patients' lives and what it is. So we cannot wait to join our next two guests, John and Dr. Payal Kohli. Thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you for having us.
Thank you so much for having us.
Dr. Kohli, can you please talk to us about obstructive hypertrophic cardiomyopathy and how it impacts people?
Dr. Daliah, it's one of those conditions that has a tremendous impact on people, and it's actually called the Great Masquerader because we miss about 80% of cases of this condition. And, the heart is a pump. It pumps blood to the body all day long. When you have obstructive hypertrophic cardiomyopathy, the hallway that the blood uses to leave the heart becomes thicker and stiffer, and the heart itself becomes stiffer. So the heart has trouble filling with blood, and then that blood has trouble leaving the heart and getting to the body. And as you talked about, especially during exercise or any kind of physical activity, when the heart is beating faster and harder, that blood has even more trouble getting out. And so John and I are really here today working with Bristol Myers Squibb to raise awareness of this condition, because it's a condition that doesn't discriminate regardless of race or gender or what have you. And it's a condition that can have a profound impact on the quality as well as the quantity of your life.
Wow, absolutely. And, here, John, you're an avid athlete, and you started to be affected by these symptoms. Talk to us about the symptoms that you felt and then how you ended up getting diagnosed with this.
Yeah, so thanks for having us on your show. I do value being an active person, as you mentioned before in your open. I was a college tennis player and have been a very active person my entire life. Both my two older brothers and I were misdiagnosed with a heart murmur when we were all in our 20s. And we later on, all three of us would be diagnosed with OHCM. So my symptoms started in my 50s when I started feeling dizzy during a workout. And these symptoms progressively got worse. I would be dizzy, and then I would develop other symptoms like shortness of breath. It became difficult for me to even go on a simple walk without needing to constantly stop and take and catch my breath. I switched later from tennis to pickleball, thinking it would be an easier sport to play. But even then, I struggled to finish a match. My symptoms continued to interfere with one of the things that I enjoyed the most, and that is, as you mentioned during your open, is my ability to stay active. Eventually, I saw another cardiologist, and about 3 years ago, I was diagnosed with OHCM.
Wow. I have many parents that kind of get frustrated with the whole sports physical process that these kids have to go through, and I explain to them, cardiac exams are so crucial. And in fact, if anything can't be picked up properly, or they think they're hearing something, an ultrasound or an echocardiogram of the heart, definitely can diagnose these. And so thank God you finally got diagnosed. And I appreciate you sharing this. And so, Dr. Kohli, how are we treating OHCM?
The good news is we do have a lot of tools in our toolbox to treat it. And as you heard from John just now, it can have a profound impact on somebody's life. So it is really important to get patients plugged into treatment. So there's a whole host of treatments ranging from surgery to actually, cut out and narrow out and make, more room in that hallway so that blood can get out, to medications like beta blockers that give the heart more time to let the blood get out because they slow down the heart rate, to another medicine that was approved by the FDA that's called Camzyos or mavacamten. And this is a medication that reduces the force with which the heart squeezes. So it essentially stops that, heart and the hallway from kind of collapsing on itself as the heart is squeezing to get the blood out. Now, because it's reducing the force with which the heart squeezes, you have to monitor patients carefully with serial echocardiograms or ultrasounds, looking over time to make sure that, they're not having too much weakness of the heart muscle. And of course, every patient can respond differently to this particular medication. So it's really important to titrate both the dose of the medication to the ultrasound as well as to the patient's response. And to me, as a cardiologist, it's honestly been a game changer in obstructive hypertrophic cardiomyopathy because I've seen patients struggle with the condition. It's a genetic condition. And as I said, it affects so many people. And so it can really help you get back to the life that you love and help patients like John get back to the activities that they love doing.
And we're so grateful to Bristol Myers Squibb, one, for bringing this interview today and sponsoring this, but two, for all the great work they do on these conditions. And, here, John, so your living testament. How did the treatment work and what kind of impact did it have on your symptoms?
Yeah, my doctor prescribed Camzyos, and then within a few months, I started to feel a real difference in my symptoms. I was delighted that I could play pickleball again without needing constant breaks. And even my friends noticed a difference in me. So today my symptoms such as shortness of breath and feeling faint are much better. And after working closely with my doctor and getting his consent, I'm okay to play pickleball tournaments again, amateur pickleball tournaments. So, of course, others may experience different results, but if you're experiencing symptoms, I encourage people to talk to their doctor. Camzyos has made a difference for me and my symptomatic OHCM.
Wow. Dr. Coley, where can my listeners go for more information?
It's so important to get information because knowledge is power. So I would say talk to your doctor if you're having any symptoms. Don't blow them off as old age or being out of shape or what have you. And also go to camzyos.com to read a bit more about obstructive hypertrophic cardiomyopathy because it is a condition that can affect 1 out of 200 to 1 out of 500 people. And if you have any symptoms, it's really important to get them addressed.
Dr. Coley, John, anything else you'd like to share with our listeners?
I would just like to leave us with the fact that, heart disease in all its different forms is the most common thing that's going to happen to any of us. And the more that we take control of it, the more that we get smarter than the disease by getting ahead of it, the better we will all do. So just really take control, not just of your life, but also of your cardiac risk factors. So you can really empower yourself to not just live longer, but live better.
Amen. Well, guys, we appreciate you coming on and all the great work you're doing. Can't wait to have you back.
Thank you so much.
1-877-DOC-DALI, 1-877-DOCDALI.
In a study, it was found that 33% of 44 herbal supplements had no trace of the advertised herb. Don't let that happen to you. Hi, this is Dr. Mitch. If you want to ensure quality, please go to totalwellness.com. Supplements made for physicians only now available to you too. totalwellness.com, helping you to look good, feel good, and enjoy total wellness.
Dr. Daliah here. Are you tired, burned out, gaining weight, succumbing to the daily pressures of life? Well, how's your dopamine doing? How you feel right now, how you'll feel an hour from now, and how you'll feel next week is completely reliant on your dopamine. Our daily motivation and willingness to push through challenges depends on the intricate chemical process dopamine provides. Christian Kalikas and I created Deploying Dopamine, a book that tells you what dopamine is, when it dysfunctions, and how to successfully deploy it when needed. Find Deploying Dopamine on Amazon today. Check it out.
Self-reliance. It's not a phrase we hear much in our culture these days. It might conjure up images of pioneers, the West, rifles, strapping men, and strong women. But what does it mean for us in today's world? The New American Magazine has just released its latest collector's edition, Self-Reliance, Foundation of Freedom. In it, the New American authors outline the necessity of self-reliance for a free people, tips for self-reliant living, and the importance of not giving up hope. This unique edition includes articles on the self-sufficiency of the founders, preparing for a worst-case scenario, firearms, financial self-reliance, the importance of community, and many other topics by expert writers. Now, for a limited time, the New American is offering a bundle of 3 collector's editions, Self-Reliance, The Great Reset, and Trump World, for just $19.95. Available at shopjbs.org. Visit shopjbs.org today.
All right. We are back on the Dr. Daliah Show. Thank you all for tuning in. 1-877 Dr. Dali, 1-877-DOCDALI. I got to tell you, my lips are all chapped because I was out in Disneyland and either the sun or the cold. So my lips are all dry. You really got to take care of your lips. Keep them hydrated. Chapstick, Vaseline. Sometimes if they really get chapped, you might have to use a little steroid cream. If you drool a lot, you might get something called angular cheilitis, where you can start getting like yeast on the corners of the mouth. But a lot of us going into the winter months, we're getting kind of cold and frost nipped and things like that, which I'm going to talk about also later this month and in the coming shows. But if your lips are getting dry, protect them now, because once they get dry and split, it's harder to heal. So, some of you have kind of criticized me going to Disney. You're not big fans of Disney. Why would I do that? And this leads into the next segment. I go to Disney whenever a family member of mine wants to go. And it's because I am done, just absolutely flippin' done with putting work before my family. I made that mistake for decades. And I still do work a lot. And I still sometimes, they know I'm a workaholic and, I work on the weekends. I work at night. I always am working, doing something. But if my family wants to spend time with me, work, no, I'm going to put it away. And one of the reasons why I do this is because I made the mistake, like a lot of people made the mistake, where I just worked so much. And every now and then you're going to hear a healthcare professional on TikTok or YouTube or whatever talk about what people on their deathbed say. And what's the most common thing people on their deathbed says? When I was in training, what terminal patients were telling me, and I didn't really like the term terminal, but they had, maybe, end stage cancer or some severe metastasis or organ damage. And they would always say, enjoy your youth while you have it. And I would look at them as, I'm in school. I'm in residency. I don't get a youth. I'm going to come out of this in my late 20s and then be able to start my life. I still tried to have fun and party and, have friends and date and do all the stuff in my 20s as I could. But when you're a medical student, and then when I was, an intern, and you had 36-hour shifts and back-to-back call every 3 days, no, I couldn't enjoy my 20s. And I remember telling myself, well, there's nothing I could do. I could do the best I can, but my 20s are going to be gone, and then I'm going to be in my 30s, and then I'm going to have kids, and I'm going to be in my 40s, and I'm going to be in my 50s, 60s, 70s, 80s, 90s. But that's some pretty damn good advice. Another thing that a lot of people, when they're kind of reaching their end, is they'll say, I wish I worked less. I would have had more ROI, return on investment, if I invested time into my grandchildren, if I traveled more and saw the world, if I, spent more time with my spouse. And many of them say, I wish I worked less. But society is all about working, and it's all about, supporting yourself, and you have to eat. We don't hunt and gather anymore. We need to make money so we could pay for other people to farm and hunt and gather and to protect us and all that. And so, my 100-hour work weeks are a waste. If I'm going to be on my deathbed one day, God forbid, and looking back going, okay, well, I made patients happy and I saved their lives. And I think that's very valuable, but I could have done other things. And so, some of you have asked, why did I retire from medicine? I didn't retire from medicine. I closed my practice because with Obamacare, the deductibles that patients had were so high that they weren't paying their bills, and insurance companies weren't paying because they're like, sorry, patient has a deductible. We don't pay till they met that. And so financially, it just didn't make sense to any doctor who had a neighborhood clinic. It just didn't make sense. I had to either go corporate or close it down. And I went to teach, and then I expanded my show, and now I do telemedicine. And I work for some companies doing telemedicine. So, look back when we see these people who struggle. Another thing they also say is I should have taken better care of myself. My grandfather, when he was on his deathbed, and he was only on his deathbed for a very short time because he ended up having colon cancer and he never knew. And by the time it was diagnosed, because he fell and hit his head and it was in his brain, he told me, you promised me you'll never smoke. I want you to take care of yourself. And I was 13 at the time going, yeah, I don't like smoking, not a problem. But to this day, I remember that. And him on his deathbed was giving advice to the younger generations. Don't smoke. He wasn't a smoker, but he was so mad that his daughter smoked that he wanted me to make sure that I wasn't smoking like my aunt. And so when you look at that gamut of advice, people are, don't work too hard. Enjoy your youth. Enjoy your body while you're healthy. Don't mess up your body. These are creeds and recommendations that we all know, we all hear, but are we really doing it? And see, I don't want to have any regrets. I know eventually I need to go and meet God, go up to heaven. I don't know how quickly he wants that to happen. Like I said, I think the meaning of life is this is a job interview. So God's watching. And he's watching all of us, and he's like, okay, this one's perfect. I need them now. I know exactly what I need them for. I need this person. No, Daliah, no. God, no. Leave her down there for a little while longer. Okay, it's too noisy up here. I don't even know where I'll put her, so just leave her there for the time being. And so I personally think that this is a life to where our life ends up being and for where our eternal soul goes. And maybe that doesn't really follow a particular religion, but I just will never believe that this is it, that when we're done on earth, that's it. I just don't believe that. And so if people who are about to leave this stage, right, of their life is telling you, enjoy your youth when you have it. Enjoy your body. Take care of your body. Don't overwork. We need to really look at that. Now, some people are taking it too far where they're sitting there on the clock not working. And they're like, well, I'm not working and no. That does not mean, that is not a mulligan for you guys to just, goof off at work. But for those people that want to work 4-day work weeks, don't get paid for 5. I think that's unfair. But for those of you that want to work part-time or you want to work, shifts so that on your off day, you are going hiking. You are camping with the kids. You are there for the children or there for your grandchildren. I don't blame you. These 100-hour work weeks were flipping ridiculous. Now, you do have to support yourself. You do have to work. You can't just get government dime. That doesn't work. And work can be fulfilling. You're helping people. There's a lot of things you could do at work. I don't want you to think that working takes you away from your life. For me, my life is helping people. So the work satisfied that, cheering people on, making them laugh. That is something I wanted to do. But if you're sacrificing family time, you need to come up with a balance. And so take a look at what you're doing. If you're doing something that you don't think you're going to be proud of or you're going to regret on your deathbed, then get out of it. If you can't get out of it because that's the only job you have, then why don't you on the side do things that you are proud of? Let's say there's a book you want to write. Let's say there's some things you want to teach and you want to put that in a book. Everybody keeps telling me, Daliah, you got to put that in a book. You got to put that in a book. I have 3 different books already in the works. I can't put everything down in a book. So at least I'm doing videos. Hopefully those videos will last a long time so people could learn from those videos. But, if you want to teach something, if you want to put your mark on this earth, there's a lot you could do. One thing I'm a fan of is planting trees. Planting trees, those trees could be around for hundreds of years. And it makes you feel good. It makes you feel like you've supported the earth. You've done something. Take a trip, and it doesn't have to be an expensive trip. There's a lot of ways to travel that aren't that expensive. And I've given you guys tips on how to, rack up miles, how to use those miles for a trip, how to get discounts on hotels, how to pack food. I even noticed that we were spending less being on vacation than what we spend at home. When you start to see, what you're spending and the video games and the foods and the gas. And so, whatever you thought was unattainable or unreachable, sit down this week, take a look at it. Because remember, we got New Year's resolutions coming up. I know. Oh, I hate New Year's resolutions. I can't stand them. But the reason why New Year's are so depressing is because you look at what you haven't accomplished, you feel guilty, you make a resolution, you fail the resolution, and you feel guilty all the time. Well, no, why don't you stop and think about something you've always wanted to do, or you think that's important to do, or something you want to leave. If you, God forbid, don't have the opportunity to age gracefully, what do you want to accomplish now? Because you're going to get older. So anything you want to accomplish is easier to do now. Enjoy your body, enjoy your youth, take care of your body, and make friends, not enemies. It's very easy to make an enemy. You could go up and down the street and tell everybody off and never see them again. But making friends or saying something nice. When I see a stranger and they have a nice dress, or they do something funny, or they do something nice, I make sure I commend them on that. Now, making a person smile, and if you try to do that once a day, that you could take to the bank. 1-877-DOC-DOLLY. Don't go away.
At Hot Shot Secret, we share the science behind common diesel problems and their solutions. For example,
diesel fuel cetane levels.
In many states, the cetane rating in diesel fuel is 42 to 45. Most diesel engines operate more efficiently with a cetane rating of 48 to 50. One treatment of Hot Shot Secret Diesel Extreme will raise your cetane 7 points, increase fuel economy, and improve cold starts. Due to a cleaner burn, there are less hydrocarbons and particulate matter in your exhaust. This reduces the blockage of your diesel particulate filter. Using Diesel Extreme generates 83% less DPF regeneration. The 6-in-1 Diesel Extreme formula also includes the most concentrated detergent on the market, lubricity enhancer, water demulsifier, rust and corrosion inhibitors, and a fuel stabilizer.
Hot Shot Secret Diesel Extreme is available nationwide at truck stops, fine farm and auto stores, and online at hotshotsecret.com. Hot Shot Secret, powered by science.
All right, we are back on the Dr. Daliah Show. Thank you all for tuning in. 1-877-DOC-DOLLY, 1-877-DOC-DALI. So the leading cause of death in children are unintentional injuries, including drownings. According to the CDC, 20% of drowning victims are under the age of 14, and non-fatal drowning victims could sustain brain damage and long-term disability. In terms of pet drownings, the numbers are estimated to be thousands annually. Pools, bathtubs, and any body of water pose risks. But this time of year, especially dangerous, right? Because we have a lot of pool activities, barbecues. Not to mention, a lot of people like to drink, and they get distracted. Hot weather also, may push some people indoors, so you might not have everybody outdoors watching kids. So some things I also recommend are all pools should be enclosed. Fence height should be at least 4 to 5 feet high, and the entry gate should self-close and self-latch. If your pool has a fence, be aware that the house who's hosting the barbecue or play date or sleepover may not. So if your kids go over to a friend's house, always ask about what the pool situation is. Any kiddie pools or ice buckets used for drinks need to be dumped out after use and flipped over so they don't become a future threat. Another thing I also recommend is that all young children be within arm's reach of an adult when swimming. The farther away you are, the longer it takes to rescue. The distance between you and the victim needs to be very short. Other children could swim in your path. You could lose sight of where the victim is submerged, and seconds count because it only takes a few seconds for a child to drown. And a panicked child underwater can aspirate water, and become more hypoxic quicker. And then as we speak about with secondary drowning, where water gets in, you have the secondary drowning where water can fill into the lungs, cause pulmonary edema, respiratory failure. And so these are things that we want to prevent. Each year around this time, especially since May is a National Water Safety Month, we talk about childhood drowning and how to prevent it. 3,500 people each year in the U.S. die from drowning. And I'm broadcasting from beautiful Maine, the eastern seaboard of our amazing United States, and I'm seeing YMCAs everywhere. YMCA has an amazing presence out here and all over the United States. And what I'm really, really excited about is they have a campaign where they're trying to raise awareness for drowning and childhood drowning. Joining us today is water safety expert Lindsay Mondick, here to discuss the YMCA's new Phones Down, Eyes Up campaign and its annual Safety Around Water program. Drowning is the number one cause of death for children age 1 to 4. YMCA, for decades, committed to safety, providing numerous programs that teach children how to swim. So we are so excited to welcome Lindsay Mondick. Thank you, Lindsay, for joining us.
Thank you for having me.
Wow. So talk to us about water safety and why it is so important for this campaign.
Well, we know that as we head into summer, we're going to spend more time around water, and children are naturally curious around water. And what most people don't know is a child can drown in as little as 30 seconds, and often it's completely silent. Not only that, but 88% of those drownings do happen with at least one adult present. And it shows how important it is to stay vigilant around the water, and that's why the YMCA is kicking off this new campaign called Phones Down, Eyes Up.
Absolutely. And, YMCA is a veteran in teaching kids how to swim. I've had family members that learned how to swim at YMCA. So talk to us about some of the new things they're offering this year.
Yeah, so we have that powerful new public service campaign, Phones Down, Eyes Up, which is designed to cut those distractions and keep families focused around water, encouraging families to designate a water watcher and somebody who is totally distraction-free, responsible for supervising their kids in the water. There's even a pledge that parents and families can take at phonesdowneyesup.org with free safety lanyards, also digital tools to help keep water safety top of mind all summer. It's really making sure that adults are really fully present and ready to act.
Absolutely. And, many people don't understand the risks that, they hear this, they go, well, I'm watching my kid. There are certain risks that increase the chance of someone's child drowning or family member drowning. Talk to us about those risks.
Yeah, so the biggest risk is distraction, right? And we have so many more distractions these days, I think, whether it's checking text, scrolling social media, or even just chatting with a friend, nearby if we're sitting by the pool. Most drownings happen within 10 feet of safety with an adult present or nearby. And so we really want to bring focus to that. Another large risk is the lack of basic swimming skills. That's why programs like swimming lessons and safety around water are so important, because they teach kids those essential skills for survival as well as boost confidence from a young age.
Absolutely. And so, there's also certain conditions that some children have, let's say autism spectrum disorder, seizures as well. And so always talk to your medical provider about those issues. I also teach parents about dry drowning, secondary drowning. Sometimes kids will be splashing around, they'll inhale some water, and parents won't understand that could also induce a type of drowning, especially if they go into laryngospasm or if they get fluid in their lungs that later cause inflammation. And so, what you guys are doing, and working with us is absolutely fantastic. So Lindsay, share with us the number one safety lesson.
So at the Y, we know vigilance saves lives, and whether it's through our swim program and ensuring that kids know how to swim, or the new Phones Down, Eyes Up campaign, we at the Y are really about making sure that kids and adults are confident in the water and that somebody is always actively watching.
Absolutely. And so, what are some tips you're giving parents to help ensure that their kids are safe this summer?
Yeah, so parents should first commit to being fully present around the water. So again, no phones, no distractions. With the Y recommends parents designate a water watcher every time kids are swimming, whether it's at a pool party, a beach trip, a neighborhood backyard pool. We want to make sure that somebody is always focused and has attention on those kiddos. Second, parents should make sure their kids have basic swim lessons. A program like the YMCA Swimming Lessons and Safety Around Water is a really great place to start.
I love it. I love it. Working with you guys, this is fantastic. Also, I like to recommend to parents the CPR, water rescue skills, and your pets. Our pets also can be at risk, so we definitely want to make sure that our families are kind of keeping an eye out for that. We had a friend that lost one of their pets, so we actually actively teach our dogs how to swim, especially since a lot of kids will sometimes try to save the dog or save the animal, and so that could also be unfortunately a risk factor. So, gosh, Lindsay, I love what you do. I love what the YMCA does. How can my listeners? Where can they go for more information?
Yeah, I encourage listeners to check out resources at phonesdowneyesup.org. They can download free water watcher tools. They can take a pledge. And of course, as you mentioned, the YMCA offers swimming lessons for all ages, as well as our drowning prevention program, Safety Around Water, and other activities to keep families active and safe this summer.
You guys are lifesavers. Lindsay Mondick, we really appreciate all you do, and we can't wait to have you back on.
Oh, thank you. Have a great day.
You too. 1-877-DOC-DALI, 1-877-DOC-DALI.
Hi guys, Dr. Daliah here. Addictions can sneak up on us and come in many forms, whether it's drugs, alcohol, sex, video games, porn, or something less obvious such as food, internet, or shopping. Addiction can seem innocent at first and then evolve into an insurmountable evil. In our book, Addiction Basics, Caitlin Kalikas and I dive into the common addictions and provide tips for identifying and preventing these before they sneak in and take over our lives. Addiction Basics can be found on Amazon or my website, drdaliah.com. Check it out.
Carl Amari here to tell you about our newest website for old-time radio lovers. It's 100radioshows.com. At this site, there are 5 old-time radio shows waiting for you to download free as our gift to you, and be sure to browse the additional 700 old-time radio shows available to you for 70% off by using the promo code RADIO at checkout. This is a limited-time offer, so log on to 100radioshows.com. That's 100radioshows.com.
At Hot Shot Secret, we share the science behind common diesel problems. For example,
Diesel fuel cetane levels.
the cetane rating in diesel fuel is 42 to 45. Most diesel engines operate more efficiently with a cetane rating of 48 to 50. One treatment of Hot Shot Secret Diesel Extreme will raise your cetane 7 points, increase fuel economy, and improve cold starts.
Hot Shot Secret Diesel Extreme is available nationwide at truck stops, fine farm and auto stores, and online at hotshotsecret.com. Hot Shot Secret, powered by science.
In a study, it was found that 33% of 44 herbal supplements had no trace of the advertised herb. Don't let that happen to you. Hi, this is Dr. Mitch. If you want to ensure quality, please go to totalwellness.com. Supplements made for physicians only now available to you too. totalwellness.com, helping you to look good, feel good, and enjoy total wellness.
All right, we are back on the Dr. Daliah Show, 1-877-DOC-DALI, 1-877-DOC-DALI. Well, while we are now taking a microscope and looking at what tax dollars are going to, many of you will be appalled to know that some of our tax dollars are going to experiments on animals that have nothing to do to advance human health. And this is concerning, especially for those of us animal lovers, or any of us humans who do not want to see our animals go through unnecessary experimentation. So joining us next is Dr. Emily Trunnell, neuroscientist and Director of People for the Ethical Treatment Animals PETA Science Advancement and Outreach Division. So she's going to share how non-animal research models are more effective and will positively impact the future of science. Amen to that. Dr. Trunnell, thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you so much for having me.
Wow. Well, so the NIH and National Institutes of Health and the U.S. FDA have declared that they are going to now focus on human-relevant research and reduce experiments on animals. This is a long time coming, thanks to the decades and decades of work that you and PETA have done. Talk to us about some of these announcements that we just got from the NIH and the FDA.
So this is huge. You know, we haven't seen anything like this before in biomedical research, and it's exactly what PETA has been calling for. So both the National Institutes of Health, NIH, and the FDA recently announced that they are going to move away from experiments on animals and toward effective, life-saving, human-based research technologies. Last week in a Senate hearing, RFK said this and mentioned that nothing like this has ever happened before. So it's a huge paradigm shift.
Absolutely, absolutely. You know, and so, you know, talk to us about what sort of changes then we'll see in medical research.
So this is going to spark massive change for the better. NIH is the largest funder of biomedical research in the world. It sets the tone for research across the globe. And currently, more than 110 million animals are killed in U.S. laboratories every year. But at the same time, 95% of drugs that go through animal testing fail in human clinical trials. I mean, they do things like dropping mice into beakers of water and forcing them to swim frantically, and this is supposed to tell us something about human depression. You know, we've tortured and killed monkeys for 40 years to try to find an HIV vaccine, but have not gotten one successful vaccine yet. So this backwards thinking, this waste has really been holding science back. But now we have state-of-the-art technologies, things called organs on chips and organoids, which use human cells and tissues. We have advanced computer modeling. This can all be helped with AI. And these methods, time and time again, are showing that they're more predictive of what happens in humans, telling us about human biology, testing drugs, compared to experiments on animals. So this is really, you know, a paradigm shift toward innovation.
Absolutely. And, you know, we always speak on our show, okay, well, we have a new study, there might be an advancement, but they're on animals, and then we come to find out that, well, this worked on animals, but it didn't work on humans, and you just lost all those animals, and it didn't gain us anything. And, you know, for those of you who are just tuning in, we're speaking to Dr. Emily Trunnell. She is director of PETA's Science Advancement and Outreach Division. She leads a team working to improve science policy and publishing and to replace the use of animals with much better research methods. Her work, by the way, has led to multiple victories. She's persuaded 16 companies, including Johnson & Johnson, Bayer, and other top pharmaceutical companies to end their use of inhumane tests. Dr. Trunnell earned a BS in Bachelor's of Science in Nutrition Science and a PhD in Neuroscience from the University of Georgia. Her peer-reviewed papers, letters, opinion pieces have appeared in numerous publications, including Advanced Science, Drug Discovery Today, in Scientific American. So, you know, we cite these journals all the time with a lot of this research, and you know, to see what you've done and the work you've done and the work PETA has done is pretty impressive. So, Dr. Trunnell, can you share some of the highlights from PETA's Research Modernization Now program?
Absolutely. So Research Modernization Now is a roadmap created by PETA scientists. It is the roadmap for comprehensively ending failed experiments on animals and transitioning to human-relevant science. NIH's new announcement, their plan, adopts several of the recommendations from Research Modernization Now. It helps spark this shift. And it has other recommendations as well that PETA is going to continue to push NIH to implement, such as immediately ending experiments on animals when we know they are poor models for humans. It's great to shift funding. It's great to prioritize and provide training and infrastructure. Those are huge advancements, but we need to stop using animals when we know, like you mentioned, you've seen the headlines for years that we've cured cancer in mice. A cure for cancer is just around the corner, or Alzheimer's. Yet, those studies quietly go away. So this Research Modernization Now will take us in the right direction.
And being an animal lover and, sheltering rescues, we dogs, oh my gosh. And one of my favorite breeds is beagles. And when I heard about the sepsis experimentations in beagles, I mean, it just tore my heart up. Talk to us about the recent closure of NIH's Beagle Sepsis Experimentations Laboratory.
This was another great announcement. They just keep coming lately. Unfortunately, beagles are the most commonly used dogs in experiments, and that's because they're docile dogs. They're sweet and they're small. And in these experiments, for example, they were forced to have sepsis, develop septic shock, and that is a key example of an area where humans are so much different from other animals in the very specific molecular ways that we respond to sepsis. But the good news is that the NIH director announced they had canceled at least one fluid sepsis experiment on animals, and that's this in-house beagle laboratory. PETA has been fighting to end all sepsis experiments on animals since 2013. We sued NIH. We released records showing that this laboratory was not even following minimal animal welfare guidelines. We wrote to federal authorities. And we even did an undercover investigation at this laboratory supplier that actually provided NIH with the beagles called Envigo. So this undercover investigation ended up with the facility Envigo being shut down, and we were able to assist with the rescue of more than 4,000 dogs.
Wow. Gosh, that's miraculous. Dr. Trinnell, I really appreciate you joining us. This is a special broadcast we're doing from the Eastern Seaboard, and I am really, really excited about all the great things you and Pete have done. We definitely can't wait to have you back. Where can our viewers and listeners go for more information?
Well, to learn more about experiments on animals, to learn about the new technologies that can replace them, and even urge your representatives to support moving away from experiments on animals, you can go to PETA.org/RMN. That's PETA.org/RMN for Research Modernization Now.
Wow. Dr. Trinnell, thank you and your team so much. Can't wait to have you back.
Thank you so much.
Anytime. All right, guys, don't go away. 1-877-DOC-DALI, 1-877-DOC-DALI.
Did you know that healthy arteries make a gas? Yes, actually 3 known gases. Hi, I'm Dr. Mitch, and nitric oxide is a gas that's readily made all day long to keep our arteries open by relaxing the blood vessel walls. By doing this, our circulation is increased, bringing blood, oxygen, and nutrients to every part of your body. Both age and poor diet can lead to a loss of this precious gas, and in turn, blood pressure can go up, energy can go down, and you can get tingling in your hands and feet. Well, our product, Ultimate Nitric Oxide, can easily help fix this lack of nitric oxide. Go to TotalWellness.com. That's TotalWellness.com, where we are helping you to look good, feel good, and enjoy total wellness.